Welcome to my spooky lair. Enter if you dare. Hey, quit that. Come on, stop messing around. We got work to do. Come on. Psst, in the painting.
Oh my God!
Please help me. They said they would let me out of the painting if I made a 45-minute long Roblox video. Help!
Roblox is a game. A game that can sometimes be a little bit spooky. So many Roblox games, so little time to play them all. As a wise man once said, life is Roblox. As the one singular person alive over the age of 20 that enjoys Roblox from time to time, I know, go ahead and type the comments. I already know it's gonna happen. Just call me old, it's fine, it's fine. I like to hop on and waste my life with some good old user-generated content. A little user-generated content never hurt nobody, right? Shooting games, platformers, and even whatever this is. But there's one genre in particular that I tend to stay away from like the plague. And that genre is horror. Ooh, spooky. Damn, that was like on point. Did you hear how good that ghost sound was? That ghost sound effect? That's what it sounds like, what the burger sounds like. Holy shit. Roblox's game engine is great for a wide variety of different categories, but the one that always kind of induces a little bit of an oof out of me
Is the horror section.
From mascot horror to awful mazes with rats full of cheese, these games would have Freddy Fazbear on his rusty animatronic knees. 3 beans, please. So our topic for today, class, is Roblox horror, and why it's not so great. To start us off strong, I'm gonna go over a few of the ways in which Roblox actively kneecaps the development of horror games on the platform, and most games for that matter. We're gonna get this out of the way now at the beginning because I hear you writing the comment and you can stop typing. For starters, and most obviously, David Bazooka would like you to believe that his platform is family friendly. That means with its 151.5 million daily active preschoolers, Roblox cannot, asterisk, allow anything on the platform that violates a certain maturity level. If a game gets age restricted, it's basically banned by the algorithm. At that point, Roblox won't differentiate the game between any of the other less savory games on the platform. I'm not sure which ones those could be, but to reach the huge under 18 audience, most Roblox games have to stay within the 3 tiers of moderation. 3 tiers is also the amount that I cry whenever I have to play 99 nights in the Five Nights at Freddy's Deer Forest. The 3 tiers in question are minimal, mild, and moderate. And if a game goes over those 3 tiers, it's over, baby. It's over. So from this fact alone, many developers will intentionally water down their experiences to meet that sweet algorithmic goal. On top of all this, if you were to make a game that contains horror elements that does get it age restricted, there's a real good chance that your account could be terminated. Guess you should have made a certain bathroom themed game and given David Bazooka those sweet player numbers he loves so much in his quarterly reports. Isn't that right, Timmy? Now, I'm not necessarily advocating for Roblox to be Manhunt 2 Toddler Edition, but I just wanted to briefly touch on this because I know people are gonna say, it's just a kid's game. Of course it's bad. And what do you expect? It's Roblox. I'm gonna address this topic a little bit more in detail later in the video, but just know that yes, I do understand the limitations when it comes to this genre on Roblox. And yes, I am going to complain about it anyway because I love complaining. If there was a hating competition, I would make first place every time. Now to reiterate, it's for kids, you stupid lechuga eating chump. Why do you even give a flying frick in the first place? Maybe you should refrain and get a check on your brain. Well, you see, unlike the spooky fun you can have on Gmod while installing a couple of add-ons, these Roblox games are making cold, hard cash. Wait, how much money was it again? What was it again?
You what?
There we go. I hit it. What? These games are almost always identical, feature the exact same gameplay loops, and are almost always released in chapters. Please just make the full game and don't sell revives, and we don't need your dog ears for 25 Robux, please. I just want to be scared, and this is not scary. I'm not scared right now. It's very obvious that the Roblox engine is limited upon creating certain types of video games. For instance, like if you look at shooter games, a lot of them are like actually pretty good. Roblox automatically provides like easy matchmaking and the ability to make maps. So two of the hardest parts about making a first-person shooter game are spiked off the edge of Final Destination. Another example is platformers, leading us to what I like to call maps, modes, mechanikz. The 3 M's, if you will, and
You know.
now, when we take a look at Roblox horror games, we need to analyze these 3 core components: maps, modes, mechanikz. Maple syrup? This just in from HQ, maple syrup is in fact not a video game mechanic. I don't know, what am I doing? Anyway, horror games have these 3 M's inside of their core game design, but unlike a lot of other genres on the platform, horror tends to never capitalize fully on these 3 concepts, and usually never create a substantial experience. So let's get the magnifying glass out and whip out that funny brown hat, because we're gonna delve deep into why Roblox horror is not that good. We're gonna take a close look at the letter M today, and if you know your alphabet, you should love this one. And maybe you'll even learn how to make a surprisingly decent Roblox game. Sincerely, the guy who has never made a video game before. I'm never talking about Roblox again. This is the last time. I swear, it's never gonna happen again. I promise, it's not gonna happen. The Roblox engine is quite limited, and one of the most fascinating ways that I see developers overcome this obstacle is with map design. Map design has always really fascinated me, and it's honestly such an underrated part about designing a video game. If we take a look at Silent Hill PT, for example, despite it being the same hallway repeated over and over again, it's able to create a tense atmosphere and build upon itself. That way, the limitation of the hallway becomes an actual asset to the horror of the game. Some may say that this is an unfair comparison because this is a video game and Roblox is not really a video game. But within limitation comes a lot of innovation. And a really great example of this can be seen in the Roblox video game Dream World. And I know I've mentioned this before in a separate video, but it's worth repeating quickly. Although not outright being a horror game, it excels at creating tense environments and can be a little spooky and thought-provoking sometimes. With clever use of Roblox's limited lighting, geometry, and materials, abstraction and surrealism can actually become one of the engine's greatest strengths. Now, in comparison, when we take a look at some of the horror games that are available on the front page of Roblox, there's a couple reoccurring themes that you'll almost always see in these maps. Look, there's gonna be a secret passage under this grave, and it's gonna lead to a maze. How much you wanna bet?
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the?
1. The phone will ring, and there'll be nobody there. No, I'm just kidding. 1. Mazes. There will always be a maze. I don't care if you have the world record in Bowser's Big Bean Burrito. Doing a maze more than once for more than 15 seconds is not fun. Especially when there's like nothing really substantial about the maze. Dark corridors, find the levers, avoid the monster, get to the exit. You know how it goes. These parts especially super duper suck when you have limited lives and you get caught after the 9th backtrack that you have to do throughout the maze. Uh-oh, looks like you gotta pay 200 Robux or play my sick maze again. Aren't you having fun? We're having fun here. This is a lot of fun we're having right now in this maze. Mazes only really serve to pad out a section of the game that realistically should only take 5 1/3 of a second to beat. And don't even get me started. Don't even stop with me on if it's one of those enemy wanders around in a fixed path and you have to hide in a safe spot for 12 seconds until it goes away type of mazes. A lot of the time, these mazes don't even really have like a realistic sprint button, so if you get caught, and guess what? You're going right back to the beginning of the maze. So let's take an example from a popular horror game, The Mimic. This one's pretty popular, I would say. It's got a few people have played it. The first chapter that you play in this game has you completing a maze. The first thing you do in this game is a maze. The first level is already padding. And unfortunately, this isn't your average maze. This is an advanced maze. It has the 3 Roblox deadly sins. Finding objects, backtracking, and waiting until the next lunar cycle for the enemy to leave you alone. See, now I have to wait. I have to wait for it to go down the other hallway so I can do something. Should have brought some glowstone, I guess. Why did I write that in there? Glowstone. Maybe to stop the monster from spawning? I have no idea why I wrote that. It doesn't make much sense. But you should have brought your glowstone. You should have brought your Minecraft wolf. You should have brought your Minecraft golden carrots, so then that way you could eat it and have a lot of sprint. You know, the thing is that frustration can be used in a proper way to convey a sense of accomplishment upon completing a task. It's what makes a game like Dark Souls great. And yes, I really just compared Roblox to Dark Souls, but Roblox is not Dark Souls, okay? It's not Dark Souls, it's Roblox. This is Roblox, this is Dark Souls. However, if frustration isn't a core design element, it can quickly throw players out of the intended experience. Horror is admittedly something really hard to get right because you're always treading this fine line of like suspense and boredom. If you're not scared, the game isn't scary. But these games kind of just throw all that out the window and go, you will do 7 mazes and you will be scared and you will like it.
Holy freaking crap, Lois. That was like 5. That was like the letter M to the max, Lois. Holy freaking crap.
Maps, the first M. We have mazes checked off, but is there anything else worth unfairly criticizing?
Yes! Yes!
Many spaces are massive. Lacking in modularity and are almost never multi-purpose in nature. They possess no real multi-dimensional uses and are never more than marginally decent.
Whoa, that was like 5 M's. Holy freaking crap, Lois.
I can't take this shiz no more, man. What I'm getting at here, besides flexing my awesome, super epic knowledge of the letter M, is that most maps are boring even outside of mazes. Generic cave, generic factory, generic 400-meter long hallway that you can't sprint down. The spaces are never used more than for simple transitional areas. They house a monster or exist for you to walk through them and to be completely forgotten. What I kind of mean by this is that nothing is ever made more detailed than it needs to be. It's more just like, here's your hallway, here's your monster, here's your hallway, here's another monster, here's the end of the game. If you kind of can see what I'm saying here. If we want to get a little bit more relevant to the current topic, Roblox, we can mention the scariest game that I have ever played. 5 Nights at Fred Flintstone's. FNAF cultivates its fear from the environment and the situation of the player. And this has been said a bajillion times, but the limitation of restricting movement of the character allows for the game to really focus in on its mechanics, putting emphasis on the fact that you are truly helpless to the wrath of Toy Chica. It uses the environment in a dynamic and meaningful way. Can you imagine if FNAF was just a horror game where you walk down a hallway for 20 minutes and then all of a sudden, horror. Now, what's a scary maze game without a scary guy to be in said scary maze? Well, it would still be a maze, but wouldn't make for nearly as nice of a clickbait YouTube thumbnail. I survived 1 night at Chica's, and I only cried for 20 minutes. This is where the M for mechanics comes into play. Usually, Roblox horror games follow this type of formula. An NPC wanders around a fixed path until you activate an invisible trigger. When you really think about it, we haven't really evolved past the Slender days, have we? Invisible triggers like these, unfortunately, create predictability. And when the threat becomes predictable, the fear is immediately lost. A really good comparison of this that I can make is the goofy Minecraft Cave Dweller mod. When you encounter the spooky dweller guy, he might be a little scary at first, but the lack of any real variation in attack makes the encounter boring and repetitive. Like, look at my sick moves. Watch me evade this guy right here. Like, he stands no chance. Watch me break this guy's ankles. Unlike Minecraft, because it's a lot more difficult in Minecraft, importing models and creating intelligent AI is entirely possible within the engine of Roblox. As per Roblox's developer forum, the only limit on importing models is a 20K try limit. Sorry, all my VR chat players, your 400K anime goth girl baddie skin is not going in Roblox. Actually, you know what? It probably is, according to David Bazooka. And what I'm getting at here is this, and it kind of goes without saying. Roblox falls short as its models and map design don't really go past anything besides, oh, cartoon guy is secretly very evil and spooky, guys. He's so spooky and evil. He's gonna be spooky and evil. He's gonna get you. If I was a Roblox player, this would be kind of shocking. Speaking on how threats become predictable, mechanikz. Why don't we take a closer look at not where, not why, but how the spooky stuff happens. As per the Unity Gary's Mod Classic, invisible triggers are like the bane of any horror game. When your logic is tied to a page, or a door, or the back of a mannequin that you have to hit with an axe. Okay, this one is actually pretty good. This one got me pretty good. It can create really bad predictability if not implemented correctly. This kind of design is honestly like a pet peeve of mine. It's not even really that bad. Like invisible triggers, you have to use them. But when you play a game that is kind of designed in this way, it becomes like painfully obvious when something spooky is gonna happen, you know? Games like Spooky's House of Jump Scares and its inspired counterpart, Doors, get around this limitation by using small procedurally generated rooms. The benefit of this approach is that the threat becomes tied to a random value rather than being based on like a hard set physical environmental factor. And also these games have their cake and eat it too, because after a certain amount of rooms, you'll go through a scripted sequence. This idea is honestly so smart because it creates suspense, creates unpredictability, and creates replayability
all at the same time.
If you really think about it, a lot of the most popular horror games use this type of formula. FNAF, again, horror, is another example of this. The threat being largely random means that you are never 100% sure in which toy chica is gonna enter your office. Moreover, if we take a look at the game Kagutaba, there's a sequence in which the player will need to collect items and perform a little ritual. Upon completing it, the game will move your mouse in the direction of a distant screen. This is admittedly one of the better horror experiences on Roblox, so I'm not gonna bash it that much. But it does kind of suffer heavily from that look at this scary thing after you do a thing problem. Walk past an invisible trigger and a pot breaks. Pick up the scythe and then there's a knock at the door. Perform the ritual and the phone will ring and there'll be nobody there. This is actually made by the same guy who made Dream World, so there's some like Roblox lore there if you're into that kind of thing. Mechanics like these can be used to enhance the experience, especially when attempting to catch the player off guard. But if used over and over and over again, can lead to this plain Jane, mundane, yes, I am in pain type of gameplay. It just becomes more predictable as time goes on, and once you become an old man like me, you play this kind of game, it just makes you want to go back to cart ride into 77 hyenas. Looping back on our previous M, utilizing the environment does a lot more to actually make your player scared rather than making the threat tangible right off the start. You know, mess with them, you know, make your animatronics do the boom. Get inside the Roblox player's mind. What scares children? Like broccoli, going to elementary school, Minecraft, I guess now, and like Obama. When you use sick gamer game design like this, it makes your threat unpredictable and builds a lot of suspense. Was that the sound of a scary monster? Or was that the sound of my bank account hitting 0 after playing Bee Swarm Simulator? Plot twist, microtransactions actually are the scariest thing on Roblox, and somebody should make a microtransaction horror game. The point I'm getting at is this. Mix up your tactics. Use RNG to make your players uncomfortable. Build suspense, please, please. Tying your events to world triggers works, but don't get over-reliant on them because you'll either die Scott Cawthon or live long enough to see yourself become Yandere Dev. All right. We've gnomed over bad horror mechanics, but since this is my super important Roblox video and I'm not really sure whether or not to put this under maps or mechanics, I'm gonna put it here. The lack of a decent sprinting mechanic paired with how unreasonably large some of the maps are on Roblox is impossible to ignore. Let me spit a hypothetical. What's worse than a maze?
Nothing.
Hold on. A maze with the surface area of Daggerfall that lacks a meaningful sprint mechanic. And for those of you in the audience too young to understand how awesome and epic that joke was, that's about equivalent to the surface area of your mom after eating precisely 3 McDoubles. So, pretty vast. Like, seriously, like the amount of games that are designed like this is absurd. If we take the game Autophobia, for example, the game is literally a gigantic maze. Okay, and you know, to this game you might say it's about the back rooms, it's about exploration, it's not supposed to be scary. Firstly, what's wrong with you? And to that I say, then why are there monsters? Why is it dark? Why is my sprint limited? For realism? For difficulty? No. The only reason why my sprint isn't infinite here is because they want me to spend my Garry's Mod playtime worth of hours walking around aimlessly, backtracking 20 times to find the exit. It's insane. And you might even be and you're probably thinking to yourself right now, Coyote, have you lost your mind? Why does this even matter? And the answer to the first part of your question is, of course, yes. Now allow me to answer the latter half of that question. Now, what inspired you to make this Roblox game without sprinting and a map the size of Jupiter?
Money.
When your game challenges the amount of walking that you do in Death Stranding, you might be doing something wrong. You know that saying about Nintendo games where they build the character movement first and then they design the world around that? These games are literally the exact opposite. This probably goes without saying, but padding a game with little to no meaningful mechanics is almost always a bad idea. Almost. Unless you're a Roblox game dev, then it's great, and then you make lots of money. It's insane! This kind of design can really push players away, and in the case of horror games, it makes them much less effective. How can your game be scary if the only thing scary about it is causing me to realize that the time I have on this earth is fleeting and limited, and every second that I walk down an endless hallway is another second closer to my Roblox demise? Actually, that is pretty scary, now that I think about it. These games suck. Wait, hold on a second. I know what I can do. Force someone else to endure the pain with me so their suffering becomes entertainment for my tortured soul. Ah yes, our third M, modes. Mainly multiplayer modes. Multiplayer modes make misery more manageable. It also masks maleficent Maldives? Is that a word? I don't think that was a word. That was off the dome, that's why it wasn't a word. Wow, that's like super good. I might sell that on a shirt for 5 Robux. Multiplayer slop has always existed in realms far greater than Roblox. It's a genre of game that has only become more and more prevalent since the great Among Us-ification of 2020. And unfortunately, Roblox is not safe. Multiplayer slop plagues Roblox, justifying a lot of its mediocrity. For what is Gambling Simulator if not to show off your After Effects looking to your theoretical friends? 99% of games suffer from this on Roblox, and it can be used to encourage gambling and justifying mediocrity by being fun with friends. I do sound like I'm hating a bit, so let's bring it back now, y'all. I actually do love the multiplayer aspect of Roblox. I mean, it is its biggest selling point, and it's the reason to play 99% of the games on the platform in the first place. I mean, why play Phasmophobia when that game costs money when you can hop on with the boys and play 99 Nights in Freddy's Forest? I've actually never played this game. Didn't I say this already? I think I said this. Like, why am I so obsessed with this game? Why play Phasmophobia when that game costs money when you could play the exact same thing on Roblox for free? Asterisk. Let's quickly go back to the game Autophobia. Let me ask you for a second. What is the appeal of this game? You walk around in silence while nothing happens, while you explore. Now let us add a friend to the mix, and suddenly the game becomes a little bit more fun, a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more goofy. Lord forgive me, for I cannot contain the goofy. The point I'm trying to make here isn't that playing with your friends and having fun is a bad thing. It's just these games lack any other meaningful substance other than you can play with your friends, which makes the game kinda fun, I guess. And you know, that really sucks for somebody who has no friends like me. This is probably the biggest problem with Roblox Horror, as it directly influences the way the game is designed. If you have multiplayer in mind, you're gonna add mazes, walking around, finding the object type gameplay, because it's much more difficult to create a deliberate experience when there's more than one player to account for. Also, gets more people to play your game at the same time. Cast a wide net, catch more fish. Wait a second. Wide net? Scary monster? Robux? You know, there's something that all these horror game M's seem to have in common. A secret fourth M? No, couldn't be. 2 more M's? You're telling me we have 2 more M's? That's right, I saved the best for last, so buckle up, Buttercup, because everything that we've discussed today is mainly because of Roblox's terrible moderation and monetization system. It always is, isn't it? It always kind of seems to come full circle with this game. Let's start by discussing the former of those two things. Horror games are padded beyond belief with annoying mechanics that incentivize multiplayer for one singular reason: premium payouts. Whoa, hold on there, Baldy. Okay, something actually changed in the time of me making this video, and it's the way playtime payouts work. Now, players in your game don't need to have premium anymore. Now you just get Robux no matter who is playing your game and how much time they're spending in it. But now it doesn't like accumulate over hours. It's like only one player can give you Robux per day for spending a certain amount of time in your game. It's the same thing, but just slightly different, so it's almost inconsequential, but I just figured I'd let you know. So anyway, back to the video. This is one of the worst parts about Roblox, and it doesn't even just affect the horror games on the platform, but all games. The short of it is that Roblox incentivizes developers to make their games inconvenient to play because they pay out Robux depending on the amount of time that premium players will spend in their experiences. David Bazooka. His funny monkey brain just can't help the dopamine when the number goes up. He just can't help it. The general consensus is that it's about 10 Robux for every hour a premium player will spend in your game. Now, how could this possibly become a problem, you ask? Oh, how naive art thou, Timmy. If only the world was sunshine, rainbows, and anime girls, then maybe one day we can live in utopia. Put your ear to the street and hear the money flowing in. Hear it whisper the way it calls to you. Without going into too much detail here, since I covered this in another video, and this video is about, horror games and not Roblox moderation, I'm pretty sure you can put 2 and 2 together to figure out why this is not a good incentive structure for making a video game. Circumvents the M's. They should have had it set to M for Mumbo instead of W for monetization. When you use playtime as a form of monetization, all it does is encourage the development of a game that incentivizes engagement. Hence the long hallways and the no sprinting and the 9 chapters that are all really long and like, and nothing happens for a long time. Don't hate the player, hate the game. These developers are only doing what they have to survive. Roblox encourages it to develop games this way, but it's just a shame is all I'm trying to say. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the real meat and potatoes of why these games aren't good, and it's because of what I mentioned before, the moderation. Oh boy, this one is spicy. Listen, moderation on Roblox has got to be one of the worst moderation systems of any game that I have ever played before, ever. Banned for saying die, banned for saying screw, banned for saying ligma, banned for existing, banned for making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But when something needs to be moderated, suddenly there's just not a whole lot of action being taken. Gee, I just wonder why. Something is just not making a whole lot of sense here, and it's hurting my caveman brain and me no able to figure out why. The things that should never be allowed on the platform continue to exist, but games that deal with heavy subjects and themes are nuked from orbit. Unfortunately, this issue isn't really fixable, and I genuinely do not think that there's a correct answer here. Jeep Zone is the example of a weird, horror-ish game caught in this limbo, as it deals with a lot of heavy themes such as anxiety, depression, and loneliness. It's genuinely thought-provoking, and a lot of the environments are really well crafted, and its abstraction is very impressive. However, this game will be permanently age-restricted and buried under a mountain of slop, despite it actually being pretty decent. There's a lot of care put into the smaller details of this game, and I don't know, it's just weird to see something with actually like a molecule of care and thought put into it, buried as gacha games and pregnant Spider-Man overrun the trending tab. It really does kind of suck that these games can't exist, because if they were allowed to exist, people would take advantage of it just like they take advantage of the moderation system now. It's a lose-lose. Oh yeah, maybe my microphone might be useful, potentially. Ah yes, it's a tale as old as David Bazooka's daughter throwing it back for her audience of 9-year-olds. Unfortunately, there's no winning here. If you can't make a horror game that actually incorporates real horror elements, then what the frick are you supposed to do, you little rodent? It's truthfully a little silly to expect a lot out of Roblox, but what if I told you that there was a game that exists? A game that breaks the mold. A game that does not contain mold. Me and the gnomelings when we are one with the mold. Yup, you guessed it, it's Escape Evil Stepdad Obby. No, it's the second greatest game ever made, Grace. Grace is super cool and awesome, and I love this game, and I played it so much, but it is what an indie horror title on Roblox should be. Besides ripping off Doors, which ripped off Spooky's House of Jump Scares, which ripped off of Escape Evil Stepdad Obby, Grace is a Doors-like game that has you clearing rooms and avoiding obstacles at Mach 12. We got sliding, we got edge bugging, but most importantly out of all, we got Hideki Naganuma samples in a freaking Roblox game. Holy crap, Lois, like the horse is here. But this is only in the mode that destroys my bitrate, so it's gonna be on the screen for about 5 whole seconds. And it's gone. With a clear artistic inspiration pulled from Faith, Grace pulls off being a game that is not only fun, but occasionally kinda spooky. Like, look at this guy. This guy has got to be one of the coolest guys that I've ever seen, like, in a Roblox game. Like, he's just kind of freaky, and like, the way that it's like designed and like the trick that they did where he runs at you, oh, it's actually really good. I was very impressed when I saw this for the first time. I was like, that's top 10 Roblox epic moments. Number 10, Shadow Guy. I'm not gonna ruin the enemies in this game though, because they are very well designed, and if you haven't played this game, it's so good. Grace is really awesome, and I easily racked up a good handful of hours playing it due to the tension from the speed, the sound design, and the enemies. I believe that this is the only true middle ground for a Roblox game, because it combines all the necessary elements to have a game actually do well on Roblox, but it also tries to be something bigger, unlike some other games we've discussed. And, you know, I mentioned Dreamworld like every single time I mention Roblox, but here we go, one more time for the people in the back. One more time, want to reiterate how good Roblox's engine is at making surrealist environments. The simple blocky visuals and low-res textures really amplify a feeling of otherworldliness, spirituality-ness, monstrousness, creepiousness, and uncanniness. And this can really help a game if applied and creative in different ways. The skyboxes do well to make worlds feel bigger than they really are, and can really add to the surrealist nature of the environment. Very similar to how people felt about the Mario 64 Wet Dry World skybox. Yeah, remember when that was a thing? I really like Roblox's like fake god rays as well, because when combined with these environments, they can really do a lot to sell the immersion. I really urge you to check out these Yume Nikki type of games, as some of the worlds created by them can be really intriguing, as long as they don't violate the first M. Do me a solid and cheese these nachos. You know what, this is like the third time me mentioning this game, and at this point I think I maybe should make a video on it. Maybe. To wrap up this video in a nice, beautiful bow, let's go over the M's one more time. Maps, modes, mechanics. Starting with maps, maps are an integral part to designing a video game and honestly, a very underappreciated art. Maps can dictate how memorable and fun a game is, and this applies to video games all over the medium. Counter-Strike, Overwatch, Super Smash Bros., Five Nights at Freddy's, Valorant. Wait, Valorant? How did this get in here? Bold and brash? More like 50 corners and trash.
Sorry, I must have missed that one.
And of course, this all applies to this little guy right here. A lot of the art showcases in Dreamworld are stuck in my head just by how well crafted and memorable they are. Same thing with Spooky Mansion right here.
This is so spooky.
Maps are super important and I love them. They're what make video games great, unless you're Valorant. And yes, I will make fun of this game in every video I make, regardless of the topic. Now let's wrap up modes. Modes, as discussed previously, are essential in giving your players options when playing your video game. The worst thing that you can possibly do in game design is restrict your players without it being a part of the core game design. Like Getting Over It, for example, or Five Nights at Freddy's, or Doors. Modes can really help enhance any kind of game, especially games on Roblox, as they tend to lean more towards mobile game territory. And if you don't want to make a game that relies on being played 7,000 times for dopamine deployment, which is kinda impossible on Roblox, I would say, ensure that your game has a clear and defined purpose. Like, I challenge you right now to a duel. Not to a duel, but play Autophobia by yourself and see how long it takes for anything, literally anything to happen. Like, set a timer, turn on the timer, and play until you find something really interesting, you get to a next world, or you find a monster. That's the challenge of this video. I cry every time. I cry every Tim. Coupled with mechanics, modes are extremely important. Take our previously mentioned game, Grace. They have tons of extra modes to play when you get bored of the main game, and the game doesn't use multiplayer as a crutch. It's just as viable to play in single player. In fact, there is actually single player modes. Am I saying that a Roblox horror game developed by some kid on his leapfrog should be Overwatch? No, of course not. Unless. No, not unless. I don't want to imagine a world where that happens. It's really important to keep in mind what you want the intended experience to be, that way you can design the modes around the game. If you want an immersive experience, don't rely on multiplayer for it to be fun. If you want your game to be replayable, ensure that there's a lot of different modes to play to keep your players invested and to let them play the way they want to. And that finally leads us to the promised land, mechanics. Most mechanics in Roblox are not very good. In order to make a game with good mechanics, one must look inside themselves to find what their blocky Lego heart finds fun. Admittedly, there's nothing wrong with a tried and true horror formula. I mean, it works. It wouldn't be a formula if it didn't work. But again, most horror on Roblox uses this formula as a crutch. As we've mentioned before, a lot of these mechanics can become a little malicious as they are shoehorned in to increase the playtime of said game. As with this Scary Stories game where you have to pick up trash and then wipe the floor and then like pick up trash again, but it takes so long. It takes like 20 minutes to do this, and I like stop. Just stop it. Get some help. And you do this again and again, or you wait for a monster to walk past your hiding spot again and again, or the lack of a meaningful sprint mechanic in a long hallway again and again. When designing these types of horror games, towing the line between restrictive and irritating can admittedly be really difficult. But it is one of the most essential parts in making a horror game. You don't want the big bad to be frustrating lest you replace fear with irritation. Going back to Grace one more time. This is the last time, I promise. It's just such a good example. It sets a great example. This is like the game, like the Roblox Big Brother that has like an engineering job, and this is the horror game that eats glue and sits at the back of the class. There are so many modifiers, movement glitches, modes, and time trials that you can engage with however you want to. You don't need to fly down the hallway at Mach 12 with the weird wall jumping speed mechanic, but you can if you want to. It doesn't make the enemies any less threatening, because the amount of mechanics and options doesn't trivialize their existence. In a real horror experience, make your enemies threatening, but allow for mechanics that don't feel frustrating and give your players a little bit of wiggle room. Or just add a sprint mechanic. That is all I ask. That's all I want. Just let me sprint, please. Oh, sprinting, man. Why legs if not two for sprinting? Holy moly. Maybe next video I can make something and be a little positive. And what would I make a video on? Strawberries? I think I like strawberries. I could say some positive stuff about some strawberries. Oh, wait. I know what I could do it on. I could draw on, like, dogs. Or Roblox dogs. That might be a good idea. Dogs and Roblox. Wait, no. The video can't be over yet. I'm still stuck in this painting.